Hello, true believers. This is Babbles Only doing another vlog, and this video is something that popped up on my news feed, and I wanted to make a video of this earlier, but just a few days passed by, and I meant to do it right away, but as soon as like a day goes by, another day goes by. It's not like I'm procrastinating. It's just my priorities, especially with the kids right now. I it was being in prison is it's such an experience. I don't even know where to begin right now, and it just shows you that I don't want, the cliche that you really appreciate things when you after you lose it. So right now, spending time with the kids is something that I really relish and enjoy now after the experience. And before, it's easy to take it for granted because I've been with the kids all their lives ever since I retired, so I can be a full-time dad. So but after a while you get complacent, and then you take it for granted, and then after that experience, of course, it's something I can't take for granted ever. And just you just never know that you're going to be with your family, you're going to have your freedom, then all of a sudden it's gone. And that's what I was making this video about. So, all of a sudden you're just going about doing your business. You're not hurting anyone. You're not doing anything illegal. Then all of a sudden you're all over the news. So I wanted to show that this happened not only to me, but to other people also. I just want to make it anecdotal evidence that it's just a one-off, or it's just a unicorn, or it's it's not something that happens. But I just wanted to show that it happens a lot. I mean, if it happens to more than one person, just like it happened to this person. So this person actually he's a famous rapper here in the Philippines. Just like with anyone or anything here in the Philippines, once you start becoming famous, once you start achieving success, you're gonna get a lot of jealousy. You're gonna get a lot of negative attention. So apparently I don't know anything about the rap or the flip top culture here in the Philippines. I mean, I do, but it's not something I enjoy. I don't, there's nothing, it's just like bullying another person. That's what it is to me. So whenever I watch, I don't watch too many flip top videos unless I'm forced to. So when I'm forced to, this is how I see it. Okay, who's gonna bully the other person? Who's gonna be the better bully? So I don't get any entertainment out of that. But there's a lot of people that do. I don't know, the people that are getting bullied and they want to bully back. So it's just, for me, it's not entertainment. For me, entertainment comes in, what entertains me comes in different forms. But for some people, that's what they find entertaining. But for me, that's the last thing that I find entertaining. But to each his own. This person is very famous for that. So the good thing is, the fair thing is, they get to bully each other and bully back, and who's the better bully. So, and then they do it through rap. So they insult each other, they call each other names, they use a lot of profanity, which I'm not a big fan of. I'm not against profanity, but I'm just saying it's situational. It depends on the situation. Yeah, sometimes I agree that there's some situations where the profanity, there's no other word for it. If all of a sudden, for as an example, there's specifically like two times you could use profanity. When I use profanity, for example, if I am hammering something and I hammer accidentally my thumb, and it's very painful, and of course you're going to have a profanity reaction. That's normal. Then another thing is, uh, there's no other way to describe a situation, like FUBAR, fucked up beyond any recognition. So I understand, but when you're just doing it just to bully, it just means that you're not. It just shows low class or low education that that you have to resort to it. So at any rate, let's get to this video. So this happened like a week ago, 5 days ago. So I'm finally going to get to it now. I mean, there's a lot of videos that I need to do. I said I was going to do, and I'm going to get to it. Just give me time. Like I said, I'm just one person. It's just my priorities. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to react to this video over here. So if you look at this video, this is let's look at the title here. Excuse the crudeness of this. It says here, oh, come on. If I use this. I'm just trying to get the title here. Anyway, oh, here it is. This is LOONIE'S message to PNP, Philippine National Police Chief General Guillermo ELEAZAR. So this is my reaction to it. So let's get to the video, and I will do my analysis and reaction. And I'll give you a background. So like I said, this guy is a famous rapper. He has some success, and of course, every time you have success, you have jealousy. And when you have jealousy and the police involved, it's a recipe for a disaster. So let's get to the video, and I will do my analysis, and I'll do my own input, and then I'll do my conclusion at the end. So let's get to the video.
Magandang umaga po, General Guillermo ELEAZAR.
He says, "Good morning, General ELEAZAR." He's the highest ranking police of the Philippine National Police. Let's go to it.
Nabasa po namin kahapon yung statement nyo kung saan sinasabi nyo po na nire-respeto nyo yung desisyon namin na mag-file ng charges dun sa mga...
So he says, "I respect your decision to follow up on the charges, the counter charges that they're going to be filing." So here we go.
Nagtanim sa amin ng droga.
Against the police, the team of police, the group of police that planted drugs on him and his family and his rap crew, his production crew.
Yung sinabi nyo rin po na sisiguraduhin nyo na haharapin nila yung mga reklamo na to.
So he says he's going to make sure that the police face the complaints against them.
Para dun po ay nagpapasalamat po ako ng lubos.
So for that, I am very grateful.
Na-appreciate po namin yung reminder nyo sa authorities na i-follow yung protocol.
So he says that he appreciates the reminders that you do to follow the police protocols.
And yung chain of custody of evidences.
And the chain of custody of evidence. Oh, well, it's already in English.
Importante po yan para ma-keep intact natin kung ano man yung nakuha ng mga authorities. Pero...
So he says that's important so we can keep track of what really the police obtained from him.
In our case po, it was more than just the issue of chain of custody. Kasi di ba po kahit na...
So for him, it's not just an issue of just chain of custody.
Follow yung chain of custody kung tinanim din naman yung mga evidence.
Because what does chain of custody have to do with my case? Because the evidence was planted. So how do you chain of custody that is the point he is making.
Parang baliwala din po. Kasi,
so he's just saying baliwala means it doesn't matter what the chain of custody is because the evidence was planted.
Pinlanta po nila yung drugs eh. Ang tanong, saan galing yung mga drugs na yun?
So he's asking, the question is, where did these drugs come from? Since obviously it didn't come from me, so they're using drugs that they're planting. Well, where did it come from? So I see where he's getting that with this, okay? If these drugs are they assets, or are they taken from other places, or are they part of a drug seizure so are they just recycling it? So this is where it kind of gets scary. You know, what gives the police the authority, the right to take drugs from another case and plant it on him to make a new case against him? Is what it's the message that he's trying to say.
Tapos puro pa po kasi numalingan yung sinasabi ng poster buyer at hindi.
So it's all lies. The police are always saying lies about he's a pusher, and then they're the buyer, and then the details of the situation. All lies.
Lang po isang judge yung nag-point out nun. Tatlong judges ang nag-point out nun.
He says not only one judge pointed that out, but 3 judges pointed that out, that that all the evidence against him about him being a drug dealer is all lies. Let's continue.
So what we humbly and respectfully ask from your office, sir, is bigyan niyo po sana ng atensyon at aksyon yung mga issue na to. And umaasa po ako na makapag-launch ng investigation.
So he says what he's asking is that you give this situation all the attention it deserves.
Dun sa mga involved sa kaso namin.
Especially the ones involved in his case.
Nalagay po sa peligro yung buhay namin dahil sa...
So he's saying that peligro means danger. Linigay means these people put me and my family in danger for what they did. And I agree with this. You know, this is where people like Brain Dead and their cult followers, they get a hold of these kind of lies and they believe in it, even though that's nothing further from the truth, and it puts innocent people in danger. You know, you accuse somebody of a crime that's completely planted, that's completely set up, that's completely absolute lies, and we already know for what. But let's get to that later. Let's continue with the video.
Nangyari na to. At sinasakyan pa ito ng mga masasamang loob na oportunista.
So here's what he says, and this is also used. Sasakyan means riding on of evil, opportunistic people. Listen to that statement. Then these people, what they do is also used. Who are these people? Is it like Kristen Cebu? Is it like Brain Dead? Is it like Ruth in the Philippines? So he's saying these are opportunistic evil people also. They're going to use this opportunity to create more bad situation for you. So we got situations. So exactly what he's saying is the same thing that happened to me. You got Brain Dead and his cult followers that are going to use this opportunistic. He's saying evil opportunistic people, even though it's completely lie. If you just look at it, it's complete lies. But anyway, his situation is obviously going to be a lot more difficult because of the industry he's in, and he's admitted publicly that he says that marijuana, specifically that illegal drug, is a medicine. Now, of course, that's a whole completely different issue. I mean, I could probably go on, and I don't need marijuana, but I understand there's other people that enjoy it. And I also know it's a proven fact that there's countries that provide it legally. Even in America, there's places where they provide marijuana legally. So if you're buying it somewhere, so where you're buying it, the location where you're buying it, will depend on whether it's something illegal or not. So it's a really difficult, controversial issue or subject. It's like some places it's legal as long as it's legal depending on where you buy it. It's even taxed depending on where you buy it. Let's continue. It's just like marijuana, like for example, prostitution. That's legal in all countries. It just depends on the location. So let's continue. Prostitution, human trafficking. Human trafficking is perfectly legal in parts of Las Vegas, in parts of Dutch countries, in parts of Japan. But anyway, let's continue with his message.
Kaya kailangan po namin i-clear yung pangalan namin. Yun lang po. We trust you and fully support your goal of purging the PNP of scalawags. Hindi po ako kaaway at kaya po namin patunayan sa inyo na isang malaking frame-up po itong nangyari sa amin. Maraming salamat po.
So this is just like a frame-up, and this is a setup. So I have first-hand knowledge, first-hand experience of the same situation, and then here's this person experiencing the same thing. Okay, same exact thing, same exact setup, same exact frame up. Of course, different crimes, but the police doing this, and he apparently had 3 judges. So let's go back to a year ago. This was 2 years ago, to 2019. Let's go to the video of the police. It's pretty long. If you look through it, there's some long ones, like a half an hour one where the police chief in charge was being interviewed, and he's saying that you could look that up yourself. He was even saying, these are not my drugs, these are planted. And it's kind of a cliche, of course, that this is something that usually drug dealers react, their initial reaction, even though they're caught with a bunch of drugs. But in this situation, It's completely different. But here's like a short news feed of what happened 2 years ago, 2019. So let's go to this video.
Operasyon ng Makati City Police kagabi. Kasama niya ang nakababatang kapatid, road manager, PA at driver nang mangyari ang transaksyon sa basement.
So this, to set this up, this happened back in 2019. He was arrested at the parking lot basement of a Makati City Hotel, and they're saying that they found drugs on him, including the driver, his production manager, and his sister were all were involved in it. But let's continue.
Parking ng isang hotel sa barangay Poblasyon.
Nagsimula ito sa isang.
So here we go. We got this guy is happy. He's on the news, even though it's been proven that this person just planted evidence. But let's study how. Look at his face. Look at he's just. This is where the disconnect with humanity here in the Philippines. It's like he knew he planted these drugs. These were already proven by not only one judge but 3 different judges that the drugs are planted. So now that we know that, so we get this special situation where we get to do the hindsight is going back now, not just 2020. Now we can look at it and know what the reality or the facts are, that we got this corrupt police planting evidence, and let's see what he has to say, and let's see the expression on his face.
Confidential information na ipinarating sa amin na alam kung ano yung mga ginagawa niya.
So he says that we got confidential information showing what he's really doing, which is he's claiming, he's accusing him of selling drugs, selling marijuana.
Ng mga activities niya ay ginagawa dito sa Makati.
So he's already arrested. His freedom is gone. Let's continue.
At sinasabay niya yung kanyang pag-distribute ng mga ganitong klaseng kontrabando.
Isinilit ang 15.
So if you could look at it, here's the drugs in their little plastic cases and money. So supposedly this is money that was that was used to buy the drugs, and these are supposedly the ones he's selling. But there are some people that are pointing out, if you look at this, if this evidence was already they wasn't processed properly. It's like, look at this, it's not marked properly. Look at this, these are just plastic bags with just whatever with nothing, no markings on it. That one has some markings. That one has some. No, they don't have. Actually, they don't have any markings on it. They just have a bunch of plastic bags. You don't want to. The rule is here's. I even went through this. The rule is the person who sees the drugs. Let's say you're the police, and you're the one who searched his car and you found the drugs, you're supposed to put your name, put the date, put as much as information on this evidence after you got it. So when it comes to court, they could say that, like, okay, who took these drugs? How was it? So now, their name, all the information, where they got it from, location, date, the person who actually sees it is supposed to be on the evidence. So you got to mark this. All right, which became a problem in my case because there's the person who marked it, who marked the drugs. Who I have evidence. Let's say you have evidence you took from me. The person who took the evidence from me is not the same person who labeled the evidence. Okay, I don't know if you're gonna follow that. If you get the evidence from anybody, it's supposed to be the same person that's supposed to label them. Okay, I'm the person who took this evidence from this person. This is the date. This is my information. So when it comes to court, the information is already there. In this situation, as you can see, there's no information on they're presenting it to the media. Oh, but where's the label that says that, okay, this is the person who discovered the drugs, this is the person who sees it, and this is the person who marked it or labeled it. In my situation, it's different. I didn't win in this technicality, by the way. on my actual entrapment, the police that actually sees the evidence is not the same person that labeled it. So when it actually came to court, are you the person who sees the evidence? No, but I was the one who labeled them, and you put your name on it. So how can you label it? How are you supposed to? How are you supposed to cross-examine you if you're not even the person who actually sees the evidence? Oh, it's a different person. Then why did you label it? See, this is where it's kind of the chain of. So that means you can plant anything you want. You don't have to seize it, and then the other person says, "Oh, this is the person gave this to me," and I just labeled it as like, "Okay, I'm going to put my name on it. That this is evidence that was taken." But in this situation, which is a little bit different, is there's no information on there. There's no information anywhere on these drugs. Right there, right then, this becomes an issue. You got to follow protocol. You got to follow chain of custody so that the evidence is legitimate. And if they're not followed, then why? Because it's not, because it's planted. So these are the kind of things that have to be followed to make sure that no law is being broken. So let's continue.
Limang pakete ng high-grade marijuana o kush sa kahon ng cellphone. Tsaka ito binalot na parang regalo. Higit 100,000 piso ang kabuuang halaga ng kumpiskadong kontrabando. Ayon.
So it's like 100,000 worth of drugs is what they're saying. And the funny reaction, I think the funny reaction to this is the sister goes, "Why would I do that when my bag or my shoes?" They're saying my shoes are worth more than 100,000. So they're saying that it's not worth. So they make more money. They don't need to sell drugs, actually, is what they're saying, because they're so successful in their entertainment career. It's like the people over here eat it up, the masses over here eat it up. That their point is, we don't need to sell drugs, and even drugs that you're saying, it's like that's not even enough to buy my bag or my shoes.
Sa Makati City Police, isang buwan din nilang minanmanan si Looney sa kanyang.
So they're saying that they've been monitoring him for a month, as they said, before they arrested him.
Mga gig, aminado man ang rapper na nakagamit na siya ng marijuana. Mariin naman nilang itinanggi ang ebidensya.
He's saying that he did admit that he uses it for medicinal purposes, but like I said, I use drugs, but I don't. It's kind of like I use marijuana, but I don't sell marijuana. That's in prison. That's probably what they always say. It's like in Tagalog, it's gumagamit ako pero hindi ako tumutulak. So what they're saying is, yes, I use drugs, but I don't push drugs, is what people usually say when in prison, which is like 90+% of the people there. So I kind of made a joke about it because that's for drug trafficking, and I was accused of women trafficking, and I pretty much was saying the same thing. When the police ask me, what's your statement or what's your response that you're being charged with women trafficking, and I say the same thing. Oh, I use women, but I don't push women, is what usually my response is. I think the joke kind of goes over their head, but anyway, here's the rest of the video.
Pinost ko po to sa Instagram account ko. Sabi nila na pupunta kami dito kasi birthday daw at 6 p.m.
So this is her sister. She's saying that they're supposed to go to a birthday party, and they're supposed to perform and entertain. It's supposed to be for a cancer survivor. I don't want to say victim, cancer survivor, and they were supposed to go there to do a gig, to perform and entertain as charity. And that's what she was saying.
Tingnan namin dito sa parking lot, bigla na lang kaming kinuyog ng mga 20 to 30.
So all of a sudden, they just show up at the parking lot, and then all these people, 20, 30 people showed up, and she said described it as started kidnapping them.
30 guys.
Pumunta po kami dito para sa batang may cancer. Nanggaling pa po ako sa radio interview.
So that's what he says. He was supposed to come here for a charity for someone who's going through cancer.
Tuloy naman ang investigasyon sa pinagkukunan ng rapper ng kanyang supply at kung may iba pang personalidad na may ugnayan.
Okay, now
sa
that one
mga
has
aktibidad.
labels on it.
ABS-CBN.
So you can see there's longer ones. So So now let's go to the video. So last week, the case is finally dismissed. So there's some details in here I don't know about. Usually, drug trafficking has no bail. So, but for some reason, he was out on bail, and I think he said that the bail was worth 2 million pesos. So we're talking about around $40,000, which is a lot of money. So that means that I don't have $40,000, but this person obviously had $40,000, and that has to be cash. And where does his rap career or his rapping must be that successful, or somewhere where he was able to get $40,000 cash to be out on bail. So obviously, I didn't have the luxury, so that's why I spent that many years in jail. But he wasn't. But during this process, he was able to be out on bail. So good for him. But let's react to what the case dismissed. So if you look at here, case dismissed, Looney and Idol revelations. So let's react to the video.
So may mga nakatutok
Tutok
na
na
baril sa
baril
ulo
sa
mo.
kanila, ang dami. Actually, mga 4 na baril yung nakatutok sa kanya. Akala ko kidnap for ransom or papatay na.
So she thought that when the entrapment happened, she thought it was going to be a kidnap for ransom. It's like here in the Philippines, so it's kind of a normal thing. So what was that? Oh, my iPad is giving me a notification. So let's continue what she said. So she didn't at first. They didn't know it was a police operation. So let's continue with the reaction.
Kami, kikidnapin kami. Ganyan yung feeling nun. Kasi hindi ko alam kung ano nangyayari.
She said she thought it was a kidnap for ransom, was the feeling that she was getting because she didn't know what the hell was going on.
Wala naman naka-uniform.
Wala.
So
Tapos
may mga nakatutok
tutok
na
na
baril sa
baril
ulo
sa
mo.
kanila, ang dami. Actually, mga
So she said none of the police were in uniform. There were already 4 guns drawn on him, pointed right at his head.
4 na baril yung nakatutok sa kanya. Tapos,
So Looney finally responded to never been answered questions about their case. What is the status of the case?
so, kanina, nag-release kami ng press statement na
Earlier, we put a
yesterday,
press statement.
dismiss na yung drug selling case, section 5.
The drug trafficking
Dahil sa amin, dalawa,
was
at
dismissed.
kasama namin si Rude Boy.
So against them and their
Ilang
manager.
months, September, October, November, December, January, March, April, May, June, 9, 21 months. After 21 months, after almost 2 years, actually feeling ko, last year pa sana to na-dismiss. But because of the pandemic, closed yung courts, tapos laging may delays nung nag-open because na
Actually, this same thing happened to me. I should have been out probably a year earlier, but November, what happened was I had hearings already set up in. They were already finished in December. I mean November. The prosecution was already finished in November. So I had several, like I said, I had 3 cases against me. One that was, you could already see one was already dismissed, or 2 were already dismissed. One was just waiting, we were waiting for the prosecution to finish. They finished in November, and all we needed was another hearing to file the demurrer. And we had like a bunch of hearings set up in January back in 2020. I think 2020, January 2020. So I was supposed to be out January 2020, but the 3 things happened. So February, the Taal volcano erupted. So every court hearing was canceled. So I couldn't get out in February. And then in March, everybody knows what happened in March 2020 was the complete lockdown. So from then on, there were no court hearings until after, April, May. So it was no courts in March, April, May, June. Then all of a sudden, there's a window opening in June. So we were able to file our demurrer in June, and we were able to get a response in, because there's some going back and forth, and then we were able to get a response in November, and that's when I got out. I'll probably go into detail about what it was like, but I just wanted to say that I could have been out about a year earlier, but because of the if the Taal volcano didn't happen, I probably would have gotten out probably half a year earlier to a year earlier. But the point I'm saying here, this is a long process already, and then complicated with the Taal volcano explosion. So, but anyway, it was an experience. I experienced it. I accepted it, and I'll share the experience with people who are actually interested in it, all in due time. But I just wanted to say that, yeah, I experienced the same thing also. Their case would have been finished probably not months but years earlier, but because of the pandemic, all government non-essential workers are not working.
Sanitize, there was a case. So, lagi may mga ganung scenario. Kaya na-delay siya. Kaya thankfully, dismissed na talaga yung case.
Yes, sa wakas. So yun, kahapon nalaman namin yung balita via video conference hearing. Yun nga, hindi na kami pinaupo ng judge as defense. So yung prosecution na lang yung pinaupo, and then
so he's saying that they didn't even put up any defense. It was just the prosecution. They needed. So like I said, the rule of law over here with any place is it's the burden is for the prosecution to prove that they're guilty. It's not their burden to prove that they're innocent. It's their burden that you need to prove that they're guilty.
Submit na kami ng demurrer to evidence.
So they did a demurrer to evidence.
Dahil nga, parang
so it's like, okay, after whatever it is that you presented, fine. But obviously there's nothing in it to say that these people are guilty. So that's why they did the demurrer. So it halves the process, because if you put up a defense, it's another process in itself. You need hearings, and it's always reset, and it's always, so if you want to speed up the case and just, okay, prosecution is done, we're done also. Judge, you decide.
Ebidensya na maibigay na talagang sa amin yung mga drugs na sinasabi nila. Ginrant ni judge yung demurrer, kaya ngayon na-dismiss na yung kaso.
Let's skip this. Skip it. So what really happened that night of the arrest? So you guys probably wonder what really. Same thing with me. What did really happen when you're night of arrest? I think I did a live stream on it, so you can check it out if you want. I think it was The Last Temptation of Bebots Only is the name of the. You could look it up on my YouTube channel.
Yan, nagsimula yan yung pauwi ako sa gig galing Siargao. Sabi ni Idol, meron daw fan na gusto ako ma-meet, tapos may leukemia siya, tapos dying.
So he's saying that the person, so he just got done with a gig in Siargao, and he was coming home, and he was told by his manager that there's a person that is dying from cancer, leukemia, that wanted to see him perform before that person dies.
Sabi ko, kawawa naman. Naalala ko, minessage ko pa si Idol. Sabi ko, kawawa naman.
Tapos yung nag-message pa rin.
She says, oh, I feel bad. I feel sorry for that person. So why shouldn't I grant? If I'm not so important over here where I can't grant this person is their dying wish. So I'm going to go entertain this person because I'm an entertainer.
Sa akin, nagtatanong siya magkano daw yung rate niya for a special appearance dun sa birthday nga ng pamangkin niya na si Sean.
Sean yung pangalan.
Sean yung pangalan.
So the people are asking him to perform, how much was his rate? Because and the person's name is Sean, the leukemia patient.
Pinost ko to sa Instagram stories ko, and we have the receipt of that post. Tapos
So she's explaining how she was set up. She even posted it on Instagram that they were asking them to perform at this leukemia patients, cancer patients' birthday.
Siyempre, since dying cancer patient na fan niya, sinabi ko na don't worry about it. Hindi kami magsisingil ng talent fee. Kaya yun.
Kahit
So get this. This is no good deed goes punished over here. She says, since the person is their last dying wish, we're not going to ask for a talent fee. Maybe they'll ask for like probably other costs, their costs covered, but he won't actually ask for a talent fee. See, now this is what he meant by a good deed. Okay, now Brain Dead is going to say he's saying that he did something wrong and he apologized for it, and he's saying that's a good deed. So this is where that's why he's called Brain Dead, because he has no connection, or he'll make a connection where there is no connection, where he's actually doing a good deed. So this is I just want to show you, here's a specific situation where they're like, oh, okay, this person has cancer, I'm gonna show up for free, and showing up is going to lead to his road to hell instead. So this is where the good deed goes very punished over here. So no good deed goes unpunished, but here's a good deed that's gonna go get very punished very fast, very badly. And this is what I mean by example. So, but when you got brain dead people and their cult followers, they don't get it. But let's continue.
parang yung dating kasi parang tunog mayaman dahil
Oo, kasi
parang
hotel.
hotel, parang ganun.
So they're thinking, wait a second, this person might have money because they're having their birthday party at a hotel. How many poor Filipinos? How many Filipinos are having their birthday parties at a hotel? They usually just have it at the side of the street, but they're going, okay, well, if that's the place where they want it, and so they're kind of having doubts about it. But since we're just doing a gig, we're not doing anything wrong. Yeah, why not? We'll go ahead and show up.
So, ako inisip ko, sige, puntahan natin yun. Kahit na alam ko nung araw na yun, may mga schedule din tayo na gagawin nun. May radio guesting ako nun ng hapon yata yun.
Oo, sa Ortigas.
Sa Ortigas. Tapos, alam ko ikaw,
Meron akong scheduled na
blood
blood
transfusion.
transfusion. Kasi
They're saying that, yeah, let's do it. Let's show up, even though later on that afternoon I have a radio broadcast he was going to do. He was going to participate in, and his sister is going to have a blood transfusion. She has some kind of blood issues where she needs blood transfusions on a regular basis.
every 2 months, nagtra-transfuse ng blood sa akin kasi meron akong life-threatening blood condition. So, hindi sana ako sasama that night. Kasi dediretso lang sana ako sa medical city for my blood transfusion. Pero, inisip ko,
she wasn't gonna show up, but since this person
na sumama na lang kasi parang special siya na event.
he says that she goes, oh, I'll just show up because I wasn't gonna go. I was just gonna go directly to my medical appointment. But since this is a special event, she wanted to be a part of it. It's like it's a party. Everybody wants to be a part of the party.
Parang mag-surprise ng fan, and never ko pa yung na-experience na mag-surprise siya ng cancer patient fan. Pero dati nagawa niya na yun. Kaya sabi ko sa kanya,
she wanted to experience it because he's done it before. He's done these kind of charity events before, so she said it's fun to experience it with him.
One car na lang kami. Kasama yung driver ko. Driver ko yun, hindi niya yung driver. Tapos, daan kami sa Makati City na hotel. Tapos after ng surprise party, i-drop na lang nila ako sa medical city.
Tapos yun, kasama namin si Rude Boy tsaka si Ivan para i-document yung pangyayari na yun para sa flood.
So he also had his people that are going to document or vlog the event.
Din sana na yung may, dahil yung mga dati kong mga namimit na gano'n, hindi ko na-document yun eh. So, ito naisip namin.
He said because the other meetings he wasn't able to document, or the other charity events he wasn't able to document, so he wanted this one to be vlogged.
Pwede rin natin ito ma-document.
So may dalang camera si Ivan nun. Binivideo niya yung nangyayari the entire night.
Yun, tapos pagdating pagdating namin doon sa sinabing hotel,
So they were vlogging at that time when it happened, just like I was vlogging. But obviously, I don't think the vlog or the footage in that camera ever came out in court because they didn't put up a defense. They just put a because that's when you demur. They said, okay, your prosecution is done. Let the judge decide now.
diretso kami sa basement.
Very specific yung instruction sa amin nun na dumiretso sa basement kasi merong reserved parking lot sa amin doon. At tinanong pa kami kung ilan daw kami para daw ma-prepare nila yung food.
Yun, tapos nung nandun na kami, pagbaba na namin sa basement, nakita lang namin may kumakaway.
So they're saying, please meet us at the basement because you have reserved parking there, which is, I understand, because in Manila, Makati, there's nowhere to park.
Na nakamask. So,
Nakamask sila lahat.
iniisip namin.
Wala pang COVID nun pero nakamask yung mga tao na nasa basement.
Naalala ko wala pang COVID nun.
So they're saying all the people were disguised with masks. They covered their faces even though there was no COVID yet back in 2019.
December pa ito.
Naalala yun yan, nakamask siya. So, ako inisip ko baka ito yung tita. So, parang wala lang, baba lang kami ng kotse.
Skip ad.
Bagsak sa flu.
Skip
Babangon
this
ka
ad.
sa Bio-Flu.
These are non-skippable ads.
Tapos may nagpa-picture sa akin. Parang normal lang. Dati kasi nung wala pang coronavirus, parang sobrang normal na may lalapit sa magpapapicture pag lalo na sa public na lugar. So, inisip ko parang wala lang. Alala ko dalawa kaya nagpa-picture sa akin.
Parang.
Hindi, meron pang isa dun sa gilid, di ko alam kung janitor siya. Tapos after nun may isa pa nagpa-picture malapit dun sa elevator.
Naka-ano lang kasi sila, casual.
Naka-plain clothes.
Naka-casual, plain clothes
Um,
lang sila. Tapos wala silang ID, wala silang badge, para malaman namin kung ano sila, kung ano nangyayari.
Teka, wala pa kami idea na ano na yun.
Set up na pala yun.
Akala namin ginaguide lang kami papunta sa elevator.
Mm-hmm.
Pero on the way sa elevator, may mga nagpa-picture sa akin. Yung parang nagpa-picture sa akin, bigla akong hinatak. Halika dito, sumama ka sa akin. Naalala ko ng mga time na yun, parang, kumbaga, medyo mentally wala rin ako in such a good place dahil lang galing ako sa medyo traumatic yung year before nun. Even before...
And nung year na yun mismo.
Yung year na yun mismo, pagtawid no, siguro second half ng 2018, papunta dun sa first half ng 2019. So, mentally, wala talaga ako in a good place.
So, nung pag-attack sa kanya, actually sila lahat ng guys, in-attack except me. Akala ko personally kidnapping. Akala ko kidnap for ransom, or papatay na kami, kidnapin kami. Ganyan yung feeling nun, kasi hindi ko alam kung ano nangyayari.
So, wala naman naka-uniform.
She says that all these people weren't in uniform, so her first reaction to what was happening to their arrest or their entrapment was that this was a kidnap for ransom, that they were going to kill them over for money or for whatever they have, their car, their personal items, their valuable items that they have on them. They thought that this was a kidnap, robbery, ransom.
Wala.
So,
Tapos
may mga nakatutok
tutok
na
na
baril sa
baril
ulo
sa
mo.
kanila, ang dami. Actually, mga 4 na baril yung nakatutok sa kanya. Tapos, ako nag-freak out ako kasi parang inisip ko kagad noon na pakawalan niyo siya kasi may mga anak siya. Tapos naman siya din, sumisigaw din siya na pakawalan ako kasi papunta akong hospital. So yun lang yung scenario noon. Hindi namin alam talaga kung
He's saying, let me go because I have to go have a medical appointment, and let him go because he has children he has to take care of.
ano nangyayari. Until mga 1 hour siguro tayo naka-realize. Nung nakita ko na pinlant yung drugs, as in nakita ko talaga, doon ko na nag-gets.
Kami kasi nakababa yung
na
ulo namin.
planting evidence.
So after an hour, that's when she realizes that they're being set up and being planted drugs on by the police.
They were planting the evidence na. Doon ako na parang, oh my God, ito yung
Hindi, parang
sinasabi nila
picture
sa
nila.
news.
Nakadapa kasi kami face down sa simento.
Oo, sila, yung mga
Mga
guys,
lalaki nakadapa.
nakadapa sila dito, like nakalinya sila, ganyan.
May nakatutok
Tapos
na
ako
baril.
nandito, nakaupo lang ako. Tapos nakikita ko lahat ng nangyayari. Tapos next thing nun, andyan na yung mga police officers, tapos andyan na yung media, tapos bigla na kaming...
More than 2 hours yun.
Oo, ang tagal nun. Matagal yun na process. Like, ang tagal nun na process. Imagine, dumating kami sa... We have the timestamps kasi of what happened. Kasi ang alam namin, seconds before kami dumating dun sa parking lot, nag-send pa yung mom namin ng video ng anak niya na kumakanta. So, yun yung last na ginagawa namin dun sa car. Pinapanood namin yung video. So, may timestamp doon. It was around 8 p.m. 8 p.m. yung nangyari.
So she's saying around 8 p.m. is when it happened because they were watching a video of his kids doing a song.
Around 8 p.m. Tapos, anong oras na nag-live na sinabi na nahuli kami sa bypass? Diba it was around 11? 11 or 10? Let's check later kung ano. Basta matagal yun na process.
I think she meant 8 a.m.,
So
not
yun yung
8
totoong
p.m.
nangyari. Kung bakit kami nandun sa basement ng hotel na yun, it was a setup. Sinet up kami na pumunta doon sa parking lot na walang ibang tao.
Ito naman kasi, obvious naman to lalo na sa mga nakakilala sa amin. Wala pa akong nakilala kami hindi iniisip na setup yun. Dahil sobrang ridiculous.
Kasi, di ba, parang ang weird nun na magbebenta kami ng drugs, tapos full force kami pupunta dun. Uunahin ko talaga yun for what? Magkano yun?
Yeah, for the-
100,000?
Yun nga,
Ano yun?
para sa ganong
Mas
presyo.
mahal pa yung bag na dala namin kaysa sa...
Parang
No, this is what she said. This is where I remember she says, so we're going to go over there for 100,000 worth of drugs. My bag is more expensive than that, is what she said.
Ibenta namin. Tapos, wow, full force with camera.
tsaka parang hindi realistic na para sa ganong presyo, i-risk. Ano ba, kung matino kang tao, naiisipin mo na.
He says it's not that we're going to risk our lives for that, only for that much. I mean, if we're going to risk our lives, we're going to do it for millions and millions, not for just $2,000 worth of drugs for all these people, because that's not even, they're saying that's not even going to cover my bag.
I-risk na isang tao na kasama pa niya yung kapatid niya na may sakit. Tapos, may kasama pa siyang dalawang tao na may camera.
So he's saying that the point is making, if I'm gonna go do a drug deal, why would I bring my sister along? If I'm gonna sell drugs for something that's so very cheap, why am I gonna bring my sister along who's got a medical condition that's gonna go to the hospital? I'll do it myself. I'll do it on my own. I'll have somebody do it. Why am I gonna do it personally? Is what he's saying.
Ano, iba-vlog mo yung bibenta ko ng drug.
And they were also vlogging at the same time. So they're saying, are you actually saying that that our purpose was to go there and vlog and be vlogging, sell drugs and be vlogging at the same time? He says it doesn't make sense that a person is going to be vlogging and doing something illegal at the same time.
Diba? Parang,
Yeah. Tapos, syempre, kami, we were telling the truth that night. Kung ano yung sinabi ko doon sa video na yun, yun yung totoong nangyari. Tapos, syempre, lahat yun documented. Meron akong document with my sickness, yung blood transfusion ko. So, nag-prove namin to some people na ito talaga, ito yung nangyari, ito, ba't kami nandun. And alam naman ng mga kaibigan namin.
yun nga, so, eto kasi, syempre, ang mahirap, kaya rin din kami nagkikwento dahil siguro ang tagal nun na parang...
O hindi kami nagkwento talaga kasi we respect the court. We respect the due process. Kaya kami, tahimik lang kami. Hindi namin sinasabi.
So they're just saying they didn't talk about the details of the case until the decision was made by the judge.
Side namin. All this time. So ngayon na-dismiss na siya. We are finally free and we're free to talk about it
At hindi
in our own terms.
How do you feel now?
Actually, expected na namin na madidismiss siya. Kasi we respect the court and we look up to the court na may kita talaga nila how, for a lack of a better term, bullshit yung pinresent ng prosecution.
Okay, so
Their
it's bull
testimony
bull
and
crap.
their lack of evidence. We will make it public yung documents, yung order mismo ng court para makita nyo kung ano yung mga kasinungalingan na nandun. And baka matawa nilang din kayo kung gaano siya ka-ridiculous.
So they said they're gonna make the document public, and I think this is it. They put it in the comment section over here. So case versus the Pedro Ramos siblings et al. Dismissed, and they're supposed to file counter charges. And it says here, if you look in the comment section, it says, I've never sold drugs in my entire life. Has been consistent statement of Looney during proceedings. As trumped up drug case files against him, his sister, manager, and their staff. The Makati Regional Court dismissed it June 22. So recently, the drug selling case, the Makati City Police Drug Enforcement filed against personal siblings and the rap production crew and his youngers are now consulting with their lawyers as an option to file counter charges against individuals who planted evidence during the supposed buy-bust operation. So let's go to maybe this is the document that they were talking about. So if you read it, it goes planting of drugs and setup. God knows who never sold drugs, shown in the media last September 2019. We're all blind. It was an inhumane setup. Remarked this is we can refute the lies and were told in court and media by those individuals. We have proof, and when we followed the due process. As I've said during the media interview in September, we were there in Makati to visit a dying cancer patient whose aunt booked for Looney for a special appearance on their birthday. It turns out it was a setup to corner us in the basement parking lot. She further added. So here's what the document says. Police witness lack of respect to the court. Makati Regional Trial Court findings noted the following. So this is the court's findings. Okay, these are the facts. Inconsistencies in the testimony of the poser buyer and the details of the testimony are contrary to human experience. So if there's supposed to be a poser buyer, there's supposedly a transaction. See, this is where a lot of these dry buy-bust operations end up where the supposedly the seller is dead. If that's the case, if they want somebody dead, and then they'll just plant this evidence and make up these lies. Okay. So inconsistencies in the testimony of the poser buyer and the details of the testimony are contrary to human experience. It's like, it doesn't even make any sense. So it's the same thing with my situation. It's like, okay, so I'm been charged with rape. Okay, how can you rape somebody in the middle of a police setup? So contrary to human experience. Now you would think that would be important, but for the police, that's not very important. As you could see, it happened in my situation, and it definitely happened in the Looney situation. So there you go. None of the prosecution witness identified the drug evidence in open court as seized from the accused. So nobody wanted to come up, testify and say, okay, so because they were going to be cross-examined. So how did you get this evidence? How did it go down? Because you showed up, so none of them want, since it's planted, how are you going to make up this story? So if you plant evidence and then you go on the media and you say, okay, we bought it. Okay, they're going to ask you, so how did you buy it? How did the transaction go about? How did you hand over the money? How did he hand over the drugs? So those are kind of the details that they're going to be asking in open court. And as you can see, none of the prosecution witness identified the drug evidence in open court as seized from the accused, especially if it's planted, because people are going to be asking it's hard to lie in court when you're all of a sudden being crossed. These police, they're not very complicated. They're not expert liars. And one thing to lie on the media when you're not under oath, when you're not being cross-examined by an expert lawyer, but it's quite different. So none of the prosecutors identified the drug evidence in open court. They didn't identify here's the drugs, but they couldn't identify it. So here's a simple fact that it was planted because nobody wanted to say, okay, where did the drugs come from? How did you get it? How did the buy bust go about? What are the details? The required witnesses were absent. They didn't even show up during the alleged buy bust. There was no evidence presented, or there was even no attempt to justify their absence. So this is where they're freaking out. They're like, okay, what are we going to do? Because obviously this evidence was planted. So we're not even going to show up. We're not even going to testify. So they didn't want to go to court and, what do you call it? Prove their lies is the problem. And unjustified deviation from the chain of custody rule. So there's supposed to be a protocol, a chain of custody. Here's how it's supposed to go down. The buy bust, the details, how the evidence was taken, how it was documented, who took it. And if you don't have any of those things, that's going to come out in court. According to the order of the poser buyer statements, demonstrates the witness's lack of respect to the court and the witness's testimony under notes. So like I said, they didn't even show up. Victory, the rap artist thanks his lawyers, Kenneth Tu, Aaron Gula, Emily Anton Cornell, for being our partners in ending this injustice. So if you're ever in a situation like this where you're being set up by the police, I suggest you use these lawyers. Don't use any of my lawyers, especially the first one. Second one, anyway. So if they're saying that they had a good experience with these lawyers, and they're a lot and they're very expensive. Kenneth Chu, Abraham Gutok, and Emil Anton. If you have any specifically drug issues, I don't know what other cases they deal with, but usually they probably do other cases. I suggest you guys look these guys up if they're recommending them. Like I said, I wouldn't recommend my lawyers in any of my experience. Because I could probably get into it. So that's probably what they meant about the documentation, what the court came out. So I have my own documentation also that I showed some. I have more to show, obviously, but I'm just it's on my list of things to do. But I will get to them, and I will eventually cross them off my list. So there's the document that they were probably talking about. If there's more, I didn't see any if they provided links to any other sites that show it, but so I assume that's it.
Di ba, natatawa na nga yung mga tao sa court nung nag-hearing?
Mismo, dahil sobrang halata sobrang safe.
So they're saying that even the people in court were kind of laughing. I assume like the court stenographer, the court administration people are kind of laughing. Okay, so the prosecution probably laughing at the prosecution saying, okay, where's your witnesses to say that they bought drugs, that you're saying that these are drug traffickers, so they're selling drugs to you, and they didn't even bother showing up. So let's get, which is opposite for me. They all showed up, okay? So the witnesses showed up, the police showed up. There's even a parade of medals and showing support. So there was plenty of police that showed up to but they, like I said, they were just lies that they were saying these lies. Actually, they were saying, if you look at the court documents, they were just saying, look, we went to his house, we raided him, we have witnesses over here that's saying that they were going to be trafficked is what basically they're saying. He uses the internet, he knows these girls, so that's probably what other reason why that he's using the internet, he has association with these girls other than to traffic them. Has he actually trafficked them? No, not yet, but that was his plan. Okay, well, the judge is saying that's not enough. I actually need an actual crime to happen. This is not the Minority Report. Where is Minority Report? Where these police are saying that, like, oh, we can predict the future, that this is what he's planning on doing. You need actual evidence that this is what he's doing. So let's get to the rest of the video. But it's hard to have evidence for something that never happened. Like I said, the hardest part was, of course, the the medical rape report was probably, which never showed up in court, by the way. It showed up in our documents, but they never presented it. The rape report, the medical rape report. So let's continue.
And kung talagang may ginawa tayong masama, tatakas na lang kami or nagbayad na lang kami kasi there was an incident pa na
So she's saying that if we really did do something wrong, then we'll just take off. We'll just go hide or escape or jump bail. And he says because there is an incident. So let's talk about this incident.
merong extortion.
So they're saying that somebody approached them, probably somebody from the police, I assume, approached them, extorting them for money. It says, hey, what we're going to do is we're not going to show up, but in return, please pay us some money so we're not going to continue the planting of evidence case against you.
Pero we will tell that story in another time.
So she's going to tell this story at another time, the extortion where they're saying, okay, hey, there's a drug case against you. We'll make the witnesses go away or not show up if you pay us money. So we're going to extort you for money. So they were being extorted also, just like I was extorted while I was in prison. The chief at that time, while he was still around or still alive, we don't know, came and visited me in the middle of the night, extorting me for money so he wouldn't hurt my family, my wife and my women and children. So he was threatening me that if I don't give him money, that he was going to kill my family. My wife and my children were going to be killed. Well, if you're in prison, of course, that's going to freak you out. So you're going to tell them, yeah, okay, sure, I'll give you money so you don't kill my family, so you don't murder my family. Because police over here are cold-blooded murderers. So same thing that happened to them. They were extorted. Same thing that happened to me. I was extorted also.
Pero there was an extortion.
So there was an extortion.
That happened. So sabi ko, nag-usap kami from the get-go na we will do this clean kasi wala tayong kasalanan.
Yes, but kaharang...
Yep. She's saying that no, we're not gonna buy into this extortion. And for me, I really couldn't get. I really wasn't in a position. Number one, I was in prison. Number two, the extortion was that they weren't gonna show up. For him, the extortion was, we're gonna let your family live. And since you're in prison, you can't do anything about it. That was the extortion. We won't murder them, so you give me money instead. So their extortion was different. In my situation, it's already, they're not going to let me out of prison because, like I said, the biggest problem was that they stole money, they committed cybercrime, they committed credit card fraud, they committed identity theft, the same cybercrime people. So imagine that. This is what I need to explain to people. This is Filipino police culture. This is the culture of impunity, especially in the environment that it's in right now. They pretty much, just as long as you say, oh, these are drug traffickers or human traffickers, you can pretty much do anything you want, especially to innocent people like them and me. He says, why should we pay if we didn't do anything wrong? And there's going to be several arguments over there because some people will, I could make the argument if I was the lawyer or if I was the person, you have to look at it versus a risk versus reward. Look at the high risk, look at versus if this is going to be, for example, that it's going to make sure that you get a dismissal, then I think you can easily make the argument that it's worth making the payment. So that way you don't have to take the risk, because if you lose, you're going to spend the rest of your life in jail. So why take that risk to then make the payment is what the people were banking on, what they were saying, what the police were saying. Oh, these people are not going to risk their money over their lives of spending the rest of their life in jail because they have a lot of money, so they're going to share the money or give the money to us so we could extort it from them. So that is the reason why the police did this in the first place. So they create these lies, these charges, these made up charges, these false charges to extort money from the people that they know have money, because they're expecting that they figure that the money is less important to them versus risking their lives of going to jail the rest of their lives. And it's a scary situation. I know exactly what that situation is. And my situation, it wasn't the same thing. It wasn't that like, okay, you pay us, we're not going to continue with you pay us, we're going to continue, we're going to keep you in jail, but your family is going to live if you. Now, the biggest problem with that is why I didn't continue with it is because I have what you would call trust issues with the people that you should never trust. I have this saying that I always say when I would vlog all the time is never trust people that you have no business trusting. And the last people you should ever trust is the Philippine National Police here in the Philippines. Everybody, the culture over, hey, ask anybody over, but those are the last people you should trust, that you think you give them money, just like that Korean businessman that died. The wife gave over $100,000, 5 million pesos, thinking that she put the trust on the police that they were going to give him his husband back if they got their money. So they got their money, but she didn't get it. So I'm just saying these are the last people you should trust, because if I gave them the money, they would definitely go ahead and kill my family anyway. So there's all the loose ends are tied up.
Parang sinabi mo na lang din na guilty ka nun.
So, bahala na mag-suffer kami short term, pero yung victory namin na mafe-feel, talagang pang forever, na long term, na pinanalo namin yung kaso clean.
So she's saying the short term, let's just suffer so we can get in the long term. And I agree, but this thing with the case against the police, like I said, it's still a dangerous thing for them to make these kind of videos saying that the police are criminals over here. They're putting themselves in a dangerous situation. Same thing with my situation. But our hands are forced. We have no choice.
Wala kaming binayaran.
I mean, what would you do if you were in my situation, if you're in their situation, same exact situation, drug trafficking, human trafficking, even though it was complete lies, that their star witness with the medical report is still a virgin. Same thing over here, the evidence was planted. Let's continue.
Kahit piso.
She's saying even 1 cent we didn't pay into paying off the police so we can get a dismissal.
Panalo yung case namin.
In my situation, same thing. I couldn't pay the police. Even if I did pay the police, they were still going to continue with their prosecution.
Naging witness din kami both sa good side and bad side ng justice system.
She said they experienced or they witnessed the good side and bad side of the justice system. Exactly. For me, I experienced mostly the bad side. Of course, the good side is that there, actually justice actually exists. Yeah. It wasn't that just because that, there was no evidence, but we're going to prosecute you anyway. Same thing in this situation. Judges over here are still public figures and they still have to answer to the process. Is what's I would probably make the argument is the good side, and probably the only good side is the judges have to, because all the evidence is public, everything is public, so they have to be transparent in their decisions and what their decisions are based on. So justice will prevail is the good side. So this person got their justice. Same thing with me. I got my justice.
Kumbaga, naging biktima kami ng injustice, pero at the same time, nakita rin namin na merong light at the end of the tunnel.
So they're saying that they're victims of the injustice from the police, but at the end of the tunnel, they're saying that at least we still got the justice from the courts.
Sinunod mo
Sinunod mo lang yung due process.
yung due process.
If you just follow the due process correctly, and if you're innocent, then this is the good part, that you will actually get your justice. The only problem is it takes a long ass time, especially there in Manila, where they have a lot of courts, they have a lot of judges. The due process takes longer to process, but if you're in the province or outlying areas like me, the due process is going to take long time. It could take years, especially for drug cases. You can languish in jail for not only years but decades waiting for your time in court, and get to the point that you could plea bargain for 2 years and you were waiting for your for so after if you've been in prison for longer than 2 years, just admit it so you can get out of jail right away.
So,
And that's usually how these drug cases go. So you're just gonna admit that you're the to the lesser charge, so you can get out of jail. Yes, please, so I can get the f out. So it doesn't matter. For over here, it doesn't matter what matters is getting the f out of jail.
At the same time, hindi lang sa justice system, but with the authorities din, hindi naman kami galit.
oh,
Hindi naman kami galit. Actually, we appreciate a lot of them na nag-assist.
They're saying they're not angry with the authorities in the process. I guess of course, they're probably angry at the police after what happened to
Sa
them.
amin, sa nangyari, in-explain, dinibrief kami sa nangyari.
may mga nagsusorry pa doon na idol.
Oo, may mga nagsusorry pa, may bumibisita sa amin, nagsusorry,
Idol,
sa
pasensya na.
nangyari,
Hindi
ganyan.
namin alam. Mga ganon.
Oo.
So they were saying there are people saying sorry, we didn't know this was happening, that visited him. I assume when they were being processed in prison. And when it comes to drug trafficking, they probably they were there. You know, they weren't just in and out on bail. There was a process that he had to go on to get out of bail.
Tapos, kung nabasa niyo rin yung news, since may sakit nga ako, I was under hospital arrest. So may mga pumupunta rin doon na mga authorities na nagpe-pray over sa akin. Alam mo yung mga ganun na gestures na we appreciate and hindi namin makakalimutan.
At itong experience na to, hindi nito parang
So she's saying I had good experiences that I'm not going to forget. It's like the people visiting, the support that they got while they were going through this was the good experience that they were going to forget. They get to see who their real supporters are, who believed in them. Versus in my situation, I really didn't have any supporters at that time. We were pretty much alone. The only people that believed in me, of course, were just a few people, and of course my family. They didn't believe these lies. They stood by me 100%. But when it comes to, because of the media attention, all the news that came out, you got all these brain dead, and we got the streetwalker Kristen Cebu perpetuating the lies. Then of course you're not going to make any. You're going to be alone, and the bullying and the problems. So we were alone in this battle, and the only thing that saved me, of course, was the boss.
parang nayurakan yung image ng mga pulis dahil sa gawain ng iba.
Now they're talking about the problem is that now we got the image of the police being like this because of incidents like this. You know, we have could you say a few bad apples ruin the image of the, and I would make the argument is, well, how many bad apples do you need for this to happen to you? And the answer is only one. And the fact is that it's so common now. It's like I said, it become part of the culture.
Nilang kasama dahil nakita ko mas nananaig pa rin yung bilang ng mga matitinong pulis. Hindi lang naka-highlight kasi.
Oo, hindi lang naka-highlight. Hindi lang
They're saying that they're still nice police, but of course you're not going to see it because it's too much of this negative press. Well, the problem is it's systemic. The problem with their statement is, when you plant evidence, it's not just one person or one, but this is a whole system. It starts from the top. Nobody does anything on the bottom unless it's ordered by a person from the top, and then that's gonna okay it and give it its blessing. It's like the police chief is gonna say, he has a boss. We're gonna get this person and we're gonna plant. Do you have any evidence? Whether we have evidence or not, we are gonna make sure that. So are you sure that you're gonna have evidence? Well, that you're gonna find drugs on him. But no, we're not gonna. If we don't have any if we don't find any drugs, we'll bring our own drugs and we'll plant it on him. Now that's not something that only one person can do. Where you find these drugs, it requires a whole system. It requires a whole chain of command. It's a systemic problem. They can't. I can't buy into this argument that just a few bad apples spoil the rest. It's a systemic problem. The corruption is a systemic problem. This kind of lies, this kind of extortion is a way of life.
Sila na
Usually kasi
recognize.
negative yung binibigyan ng attention ngayon sa panahon ngayon, di ba?
Well, merong negative talaga yung nangyari nga sa amin, di ba?
She says, yeah, of course, it's actually negative because it actually happened. It's not just it's just a story or an urban legend. It's happening. It's happening right now. It's happening to somebody else right now. Somebody innocent out there is being planted drugs and being killed as a part of this. They were lucky that they weren't part of this extrajudicial killing process. But there are a lot of people. You're talking about thousands, not only in the hundreds, but in the thousands that are being killed in this process.
Pero meron ding positive people, I mean. And hindi namin madi-discount yun and hindi namin i-deny yun sa inyo. Ever. Because we're forever thankful sa mga tao yun.
Yes. Siguro, yung mga mas in detail na kwento, i-reserve namin para sa documentary.
Tsaka sa break it down.
Break it down yun.
Oo. Kasi
So they're going to talk about the details in another documentary and another breakdown.
Facebook Live ba yun? Or yung news clip nung nangyari that night. I-explain namin sa inyo na, itong time na to, ito yung nangyayari behind the scenes. Ito talagang totoong nangyayari. So, abangan nyo yun.
Tsaka ang dami naming interviews doon na hindi in-air sa media.
So they were talking about you're talking about I've seen like a half an hour worth of video out there that they were being interviewed, but they weren't showed, so they're probably going to show that. Actually, it's actually available if you're interested. I think I sat through them, but it's just the police chief just going on and on about how these are drug traffickers and we're finally getting them off the street.
Pinutol na
yung side namin.
para pinagmukhang
So they're saying that their side, what they were telling their side of the story was edited out.
nasabi.
Oo.
Pero alam niyo na, basta marami tayong mga na-confirm at mga na-debunk din na mga
Okay, well, I'm gonna go ahead and there's still another 5-6 minutes on this video, but I'm gonna go ahead and wrap it up so you get the idea and give you my conclusion. So this is the reality here in the Philippines. People planting drugs, just like what happened to them, just like what happened to me. The police planting evidence or making up lies so they can put you in prison, so they can extort money from you. In my situation, how they did it was not only they extorted money, but they committed cybercrime, credit card fraud, wire fraud, Bitcoin fraud. I already showed you documentation of that on video. I showed you the statements that the police were using my credit cards, and then I showed you documentation that these are all made up charges, because how can you traffic somebody, rape somebody, and the results of their rape medical exam is they're still virgins with no injuries whatsoever. I have documentation of that already. I showed it to you in black and white, signed by the medical doctor. And the reason why? What is the reason why? Because we're successful, we have money, and the people who are not successful, the people who are not good at what they're doing, they're not good at, but we got people over here that are entertainers, and if they decide they want to smoke weed on the weekends, that's their life. I have a pretty laissez-faire attitude when it comes to these things. If you want to, same thing like with drinking. I think drinking, smoking, and if that's what you want to do with your life and you're not hurting anybody, and that's that's your hobby, that's how you want to knock yourself out, that's your life, as long as you're not hurting anybody, just as long as it's legal. Alcohol is legal, drugs are legal, marijuana is legal, in America, people are hooked on opiates. I was hooked on what was it? Like I said, I can't remember what was it. Codeine for a while after my knee operation. I wasn't. But it got to a point where I did use it in the beginning because the 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 procedure was painful, the rehab was painful, and there's nothing wrong with using pain medication if you're actually in pain. But there was got to a point where like I was starting. I didn't have that much pain, but I was using it for the recreational high. But the point I'm saying is, but that was perfectly legal at the time. That's perfectly legal. Prescription pain medicine, opiates are perfectly legal, and I had a perfectly legal reason to use it. And it just got when I developed a tolerance, I see no purpose of using it anymore. So the same thing with these people over here is that these people are not, as proven in court, that they don't sell drugs. But why would the police say and go on media that they're selling drugs? It's the culture. It's the culture here in the Philippines. It makes perfectly sense. It makes perfect sense to me that because of the culture, you got somebody that's successful and it's doing rapping and entertaining, and they probably the police found out that they have a lot of money, just like me. The police found out that I have a lot of money, so they're gonna, or I know people that have a lot of money. So how else are they gonna get money? So the same thing that they did over here, but for my situation, they were able to steal the money, and from them they weren't able to steal from the money from them. But they still tried to extort money from them. And this is what you need to know as you as an individual. Are you innocent? Do you have any success? And if you have no success, if you have no money, if you're which I can understand there's a lot of people that are out there that are like that, then you don't have to worry about it. But there are going to be individuals out there that are going to be successful and they're going to have money. And if the police find out, or if anybody finds out, anybody, it doesn't have to be the police, because they can easily use the police to extort money. Because over here, if more than one person knows that you have money, then it's only a matter of time before the police find out. And this person was so popular. He was a household name, and of course the police are going to smell blood, and they will, well, how are we going to extort money from this person? We'll just say he's selling drugs. He already admitted that he likes marijuana, that he thinks it's medicine. So I'm sure all we have to do is catch him and we search him, and we're probably going to find drugs, and then now we got him, and then that's how we're going to get money from him. And if we don't find any drugs, then we'll just plant it on him, and he's going to come to his senses that there's a chance that I can get convicted because here are the drugs, even though they're planted. So they thought that they probably get away with that kind of situation, because I can understand the argument, because it's scary if you're in that situation. If I could pay somebody off and make my problem go away, I probably would have, but there was no way. But that situation doesn't exist. And don't believe that it's going to exist for you also, because if you do, you're going to end up, number one, you're going to be out of money. And number two, you're going to be dead also, because you're going to be a loose end that's tied up. So you need to consider that if even whether you're using marijuana for medicinal purposes or not. As you can see, you just like if you're an innocent person like this person, like me, and if you have any success, if you have any money, then you're going to be inciting or attracting corrupt people that have no success, and this is their success only, is to steal your success. I don't think it's a matter of right or wrong, because it's something that they can do in this environment. So I always say there is no right or wrong over here. It's just the consequences of your actions. And in my situation, even though it's wrong, even though it's inhumane. You see, that's another thing in the Philippines is, how can you accuse somebody of a heinous crime when he's innocent? For money. So the people that are in position, that what they're willing to do, how far they're willing to put you through, so they can get money. Would it be easier to just say, hey, you got some success, why don't you just share your success with us, and well, everybody will be happy. That's not how it works over here. They're gonna make you suffer, and then they're going to uh, get the money out of you, and they're still going to make you suffer. And this is how it is here in the Philippines. There is no humanity. There is no consciousness where people are going, oh, isn't that wrong to do that to another human being? The answer is uh, no. There is no right or wrong. Again, it's about how I can get money. Okay. And that's just how it is here in the village. That's what makes this place so wonderful at the same time, because if you have money, you can experience a lot of beautiful things. But the flip side of the coin is, yeah, if you're going to experience the beautiful things, and if you're here long enough, just like these people, you're gonna achieve success. You're also going to attract the ugly side of money. You're going to attract the ugly people. That they're going to attract beautiful people, and you're going to have success, and you're going to have money. But with that success, you're going to attract the ugly people. And the problem is, there are a lot of ugly people, just like what happened with me, just like what happened to them, are in the Philippine National Police with their systemic corruption. Because in their defense, how else are they going to have success? How else are they going to have money from successful people like these people, or like me, if they don't use corruption? To them, corruption is a tool. It's a way of life. Extorting money is a way of life. Murder is a way of life. Planting evidence, planting drugs, saying that I already showed you a video of a police person planting guns on a person's hand and then shooting it, so they'll have evidence on their hand that they shot at the police, even though clearly it shows that they're dead. To you and me, in a higher state of being, with our humanity, if we are in touch with your humanity, then of course that's wrong. But for the people over here, when they're just living moment to moment, what is it in that moment that they can do so they can have money, or so they can get away with murder? It's what's important over here, not what's right or wrong, not what's principles. Principles is something that's privilege only for the people that have this humanity. But when you have no humanity, just like the Philippine National Police over here, then you're pretty much free to do whatever you want to do another person, because the only reason is because you want and need money, and the other reason is because you can do it with impunity. And that's a recipe for disaster. That's a recipe for danger. And these are the kind of dangers that you need to be aware of, that you need to accept, because if they're the realities and they're the truths, and you don't believe in the lies, then you can do it. Then you can stay safe and you can stay alive. And that's probably the reason sometimes I think, why did this happen to me? Why did this? I didn't want to be an advocate, or I didn't want to be an avenger. I didn't want to make enemies out of the police. But I have no choice. Just like these people, they have to fail a case against the police, because that's a system. You don't just plant evidence, all this media. They have a system set up to do this. And if they're doing it to them, I'm sure they're doing it to a lot of people. And all you have to do is, you don't have to look that far. You can look at the International Criminal Court talking about, like, look at all these dead people. And are you telling me that they're all drug traffickers? And if they're dead, there is no due process. So fortunately, for me, that I was able to go through the due process, and if you're innocent, justice will prevail, just like for them. And the problem is that that's not for everybody. Sometimes justice does not prevail, because when you're dead, there is no justice. And this is what happened to the Korean businessman, which is happening to a lot of people every day. It gets to a point where not only the police are killing innocent civilians, they're also killing each other over what? Over drugs, over drug money. And like I said, there's no limit to what they'll do. You've seen their secret jails, and you've seen, like I said, this is their story, even though that's not their business or what. But as you can see, even I have to admit, when this kind of came out, and since he was, I probably go, oh, he got caught in, selling drugs. Is that something that he that he's using to supplement his life. I didn't know anything at the time because I was in prison myself. So I couldn't do any research. I didn't know anything about these people, so I was having my own problems. So now that I couldn't get any proper information. When you're in prison, you have no information whatsoever. So the only information you have is whatever the courts give you. So the point I'm saying here is that be careful, because if it could happen to them, it can happen to me. And if you're innocent and you're successful, it can happen to you also, and another innocent person. And yes, you will get justice, but not if you're dead. And and if you do live through it, it's gonna be a long, painful process. And the best thing to do is to avoid it. And how you avoid it is knowledge, information, and accepting the reality. And knowledge, information is power. It's half the battle. So I'm sharing this information to you to show you the system, to show you the process, how they extort, how they're willing. So don't think just because, oh, I don't do any of those things, I don't do any of that, that doesn't mean that they can still do it. If your problem, your fault, your crime is if you're successful and if you're a good person, just like they are. If you're a good person, if you're successful and you have money from your success and you're sharing your blessings by sharing your talent, even for free, then the police is going to get involved and they're going to steal money from you, extort money from you, and plant drugs from you and make up lies and accuse you of drug trafficking, like Looney and his sister, and same thing with me, accuse me of human trafficking, uh, like in my situation. So that's pretty much it. I usually have the same theme over here. The Philippines is a dangerous place, and it's becoming more dangerous because you have more and more police that are going to need more and more money, and the only way they're going to get money is that they have not only family but families different from different wives. They have this saying here in the Philippines, puro panganay, which means all firstborns, which applies to, I'm sure, several police. And how are they going to feed them? How are they going to support them? And this is how they're going to support, and how are they going to get the money, right? And of course, they got to get it from the money. Well, they could steal it from a bank, but the problem is those banks, they have a lot of high security, and it's not easy to rob from a bank or rob from a Western Union. But what they can do then is, because of the environment right now, is they could just say, oh, this person is guilty of drugs, or this person is guilty of trafficking, and we'll just plant the evidence and we'll just extort them, and we'll have money and we'll have cars. So I don't have I don't have my car anymore because of the police. I don't have money because of the police. And like I said, it doesn't matter whether you're innocent or not. If they can do it, they will do it, regardless if it's right, regardless if it's wrong. And there is no humanity or principle over here in the Philippines that's going to save you. And like I said, the other thing is, if you're ever, let's say you are involved in this kind of process and this kind of extortion, be careful what you do, because there's going to be no trust issues. Giving them any money is basically signing your death warrant, saying that once they gave the police money, it's over for them. Then they'll use the money to tie up those loose ends. Anyway, let me know what you think. Let me know in the comments. You agree, disagree, what's your experience like? And then here we go. Same exact experience, planting evidence, making up lies so they can extort money from their successful and taking advantage of their good deed. Okay, and then they were set up and they were brought to the basement so they could be arrested, and they planted evidence on it, just like me. I was set up, and I will show you the documentation. Like I said, it's the funniest thing was, why did you wait for them? I remember I would have to look at the documentation again, was my attorney asking the police, why didn't you arrest them right there and then? Oh, we didn't know it was him. Your search warrant says that it was him. Oh, we didn't know it was the same person. And then it's like, okay, so why didn't you arrest them while they were at the restaurant? Well, they weren't doing anything. He hasn't committed any crimes yet. And I think the exact answer was, he didn't rape anybody yet, or he didn't rape them yet. So to you and me, that doesn't make any sense. But for over here in the Philippines, it makes perfect sense. How can you accuse somebody of rape if they're eating at a restaurant or if they're just in a car? But if they're in a hotel, then you could accuse them of rape easily and we could extort money from them or steal money from them. At any rate, this is what you have to know, that this is how far the police are going to go so they can extort and they could steal money from you just like they tried to do with these people. Anyway, so you can hear, so it's not just me, you can hear from the horse's mouth themselves that they were extorted for money. So I'm sure the scenario is like, hey, we'll make the case go away. You won't, we won't show up, just like they didn't show up already if you just pay us off. And they said, no, we're not going to pay you off. So that's another thing that you might have to consider. But I can also make a defense if you decide to pay off the police to make it go away. But there is a certain way about it. Don't do it while you're still in prison. You make sure that they perform first. You say, well, get the case dismissed first and then I'll pay you. And then they'll say, no, you pay me first and then we'll get the case dismissed. If you pay first and you're still in prison, the case is going to continue and your life is going to be dismissed. It's probably the important thing that you need to know if you're ever in that situation. So keep that in mind. If you ever find yourself, heaven forbid that it doesn't happen to you, but if it does, if it can happen to me, if it can happen to them, if it can happen to an innocent person, and if you're an innocent person and if you have success and you're doing a good deed, then it could definitely happen to you. And that's all it takes, because there's plenty of corruption, systemic corruption, and there's a lot of wants and needs over here, and the police are just gonna, it's better for them, it's easier for, I don't want to say better or easier, but it's their way of life over here in the Philippines. So keep that in mind. So don't think that you're like one of these people that are brain dead, that everybody is so kind, everybody is so nice over here, until you need to know that the bad things, that just like there are good things over here, there's is equally as bad things happen over here, and you need to be wary and be informed and be aware that it comes in the form, especially of the Philippine National Police. That's our take-home message for the day. Hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you guys in the next vlog. This is Bebas Only. Thanks for watching.